My girlfriend has a first love of 2 years. While we were on a holiday trip, I accidentally saw her first love's announcement video. I asked her how she felt. She said it was none of her business. Then she turned off her phone and said she didn't want to go out anymore and asked me to take her home. At that moment, I knew I had lost. Linda changed her face quickly. 1 second she was chatting and laughing with me, answering casually. But the next second, she was visibly stiff and tossed her phone to the back seat, talking irritably. Why did you choose to go out on a holiday? Traffic is terrible. Forget it, take me home now. I don't want to play. Every time with you, it's a buzzkill. My hand on the steering wheel gradually stiffened. I tried to say something, but couldn't find the words. Linda didn't even look at me, just turned her head to the window, biting her nails expressionlessly. But I knew that she only did that when something was on her mind. The car was stuck in traffic, unmoving, and the silence in the car was deafening. After an unknown amount of time, Linda sighed deeply and suddenly opened the car door. I have work at the office, I'll leave now. You're grown up, you can be alone. She left decisively, not giving me a chance to even try to stop her. Linda must have forgotten that today was our 5th anniversary. I planned to propose today, but everything seemed to go wrong. A sudden car accident kept me stuck. Worried that Linda would be concerned, I called her countless times to let her know I was safe, but she never picked up. 3 hours later, I was being treated at the hospital when my phone chimed with her special ringtone. Excitedly, I opened it to see Linda, who never posted on social media, had updated with 2 pictures. The caption reads, I promised I wouldn't miss any important occasion of yours, and now I've made it. The pictures showed a man in a suit hugging her. Even from just a back view, I recognized it as Linda's first love. The comment section had people mistaking the pictures for me, leaving their blessings. Ignoring the fact that I'm Linda's boyfriend, even I felt a little moved by them. So much, so that I left a comment saying they looked great together, and Linda immediately called me. I couldn't help but mock myself internally. She wasn't really busy, nor was she too occupied to check her phone. When the call connected, I thought she might show some concern for me after seeing my messages, or that I might mean something to her. But reality slapped me hard. No matter how much I gave, it couldn't compare to her 2-year first love. Linda didn't ask if I was badly hurt. Instead, she angrily scolded me. Joshua, when did you become so suspicious? You know, I detest people like that. Can't you stop causing trouble to just not going out for a day? Can't you, a grown man, stop being dramatic? If you want to wallow, don't drag me down. It's disgusting. Because of the rain, the road was slippery, and there was a chain rear-end collision. The scene was a mess. When that car rushed toward me, I didn't even feel pain. But now Linda's words felt like a heavy stone on my chest, making it hard to breathe. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself. Did you see my message? There was an accident. Linda, now that you got together, you'll stay, right? A cold voice came through, then Linda gently replied, and it felt like I was spying on someone else's happiness. She suddenly remembered she hadn't hung up, and her voice turned icy again. I'm busy with work. We're adults. Don't you know how to go home yourself? Stop bothering me. It ruins my mood. Suddenly, I felt useless. A tone of bitterness in my voice I hadn't even noticed. I didn't know you had a project with someone who'd just returned? 5 hours away. How urgently did she need to hurry to the scene? Joshua, enough already. He's announced it. Why are you still jealous? You're so selfish. I'm just dating you, not married to you. What right do you have to control me? Enough with bothering me. If someone like you gets into accidents, it's what you deserve. Wouldn't matter if you died. Even through the phone, I could imagine Linda's twisted expression, perhaps tired of arguing. She hung up right after. When I tried calling again, I found I was already blocked. Then a thought flashed in my mind. It's the love who have confidence, but I've always been so humble. The next morning, I woke up sensing someone nearby, opened my eyes and saw Linda, looking weary. She looked like she hadn't slept. You're awake? Why didn't you tell me about the accident? I thought, anywhere still hurt? Linda's barrage of questions left me speechless. She thought I was faking it to stir jealousy, unaware that I was truly injured. Seeing no response, tears fell from her eyes like giant raindrops. Joshua, are you upset with me? I'm sorry, Joshua. I shouldn't have lied. I just wanted to see if he was really happy. I won't leave you again. Please trust me one more time. Linda looked pitiful, her usual move. She knew once she yielded, I would give all. The doc said it's nothing major, just rest. Not true. The doctor told me about the mild concussion. You need good care. I've already taken leave to be with you. Maybe even Linda realized her attitude yesterday was too harsh. So today she tried to lighten the mood. Back in the day, I'd have been over the moon, since Linda hardly ever lowered her pride for anyone. But this time, I was strangely calm. Even my words were dull. Sorry for the hassle. Linda paused for a moment, then quickly returned to normal. I heard from the doctor you need to eat light, so I had someone make porridge. Wait here, I'll get it and feed you. I tried convincing myself to forget what happened yesterday, thinking maybe she was just being nostalgic. However, Linda shattered my fantasies with reality. I waited well into the night for her, but she never came back, not even a message. Worried something might have happened to her on the way, I couldn't help but dial her number. A man's voice answered, Joshua. I felt my heart skip a beat. When I didn't respond, the guy quickly explained, sorry, I had an acute appendicitis attack and just got back from abroad. A little lost here. Linda was worried about me and took me to the hospital. He added, I was going to call you so you wouldn't worry. Yet I heard the doctor tell Linda firsthand that I had a mild concussion and needed someone to look after me. In the silence, a gentle voice came through the phone. Are you on your phone again? The doctor said to rest. Here's the porridge I made, try it. If it's not good, I'll make it again. Embarrassed, I hung up, but my eyes reddened uncontrollably. I didn't get it. Why would Linda tell two lies when I trusted her? She promised she'd stay, said she wouldn't leave me again. So, I was alone in the hospital for 2 days and nights. In the end, a friend heard about my accident and came to stay. All the while, thinking of Linda's casual promises made the simple meal my friend grabbed from a street vendor taste delicious. What's the deal with you and Linda? My friend, Wendy asked. Don't say it's nothing. I saw her pics online. After all these years, haven't you moved on? She sighed deeply. Wendy knew all about Linda and me, our past and everything. Before Linda, I was someone with a firm mind. But over the years, I lost myself, focusing everything on her, never getting into her heart. Tom showed up, and it all went down the drain for me. People say meeting someone too remarkable, too young leaves you longing for them or their memory. For Linda, maybe Tom was that person. I'm ready to let go. When I said that, Wendy paused, looking complicated. And you? Haven't you forgotten her either? Wendy's question dug into old memories. But before I could say anything, there was a noise at the door. Linda was standing there with a cold expression. Since you have company, I'll leave. If you can't let go of something, then appreciate it while you can. She knew I couldn't let go of her, but what was there to appreciate? In my most vulnerable times, I was always alone. 5 years with her, 5 years of wholehearted giving only to be abandoned repeatedly. After Wendy left, Linda's voice broke the silence in the room. Without any concern, just criticism. A few days without contact, busy messing around in the hospital, retaliating against me this way, disgusting Joshua. I laughed, not out of humor, but her word hit me hard, crushing my last hope. When you have a dirty heart, everything looks dirty. On our anniversary, Linda was far away, visiting her first love. And when I needed care after an accident, she was at another hospital for someone else. Where did she get off saying these things to me? For the first time, I ignored her words. With no response, Linda had a fit in the hospital room and stormed out silently. Afterward, Linda and I entered a strange phase of indifference. No messages from her, and I stopped reaching out. After a week of this Cold War, Linda remembered I existed. Her icon popped into our chat. I learned some new healthy recipes. The doctors said they'd help you recover. I'll be over soon. The room looked familiar. 1,825 days of cooking for her in that kitchen, everyone envying our bond. Look, I burned myself. Linda sent a photo showing her red, burnt hand. It looked painful, but before now, she'd never set foot in the kitchen for me. A few days ago, she had the same burn, all for a man she was happy to cook and clean for a while. I was just a joke. In just a week, Linda changed, her patience depleted. With no reply from me, she'd rather blow up my phone. The annoying ringtone rang again. I answered, annoyed. Why didn't you tell me you were discharged? Linda's voice hinted at rage, like a storm building up, with a touch of restraint. I don't know why she's upset either. After she left the hospital last time, I took care of the discharge paperwork. But lately, Linda's been busy running between her job and Tom, not having much time for me. I wanted to tell her, but my messages went unanswered. And when she did reply, it was in a frustrated tone. Are you some kind of leech? Do you need to bother me? Are you going to die being alone in the hospital? Tom only knows me here, and yet you just have to compete with him. It's thankless. So, I didn't mention my discharge, afraid she'd think I was being jealous. Oh, I forgot to mention, I dislike hospitals. The gloomy atmosphere and the strong smell of disinfectant aren't my thing. I heard a sigh on the other end of the call. I've explained this so many times. Tom's alone here. And if something happened, am I just supposed to watch? Can't you have some empathy? Also, I've made it easy for you. What more do you want? Don't take kindness for weakness. Linda still thought I was sulking. But really, I just realized something. You can quench your thirst with a force fruit, but it won't taste sweet. We only live once, so why make yourself miserable? Linda's beautiful and competent, with no shortage of admirers. Back then, I thought I was lucky to be with her. So whenever we fought, as long as she extended an olive branch, I'd apologize like some puppy. But that only led to her looking down on me. She'd mock me publicly, like I was some kind of puppy. She'd accept my kindness while flirting with other guys. She walked all over my dignity, and later, with just a gesture, she'd have me wrapped around her finger. I was terrified of losing Linda, terrified of not staying with her, and even more terrified of not hearing that heartbeat again. I wasn't angry, nor did I misunderstand them. When I realized Linda always picked me second, I thought I'd be hysterical, demanding answers, yet I was clearer than ever. After a long silence, I heard soft sobs on the phone. Joshua, coming home? Kinda miss you. In the past, such words would have torn at my heart, but now I felt nothing inside. I thought maybe letting go is a form of relief. As if fearing my rejection, Linda sounded anxious. Where are you? I'll pick you up. Let's go home. I just spaced out for a moment. Oh, okay. There was no expectation, just a calm response. I didn't know where Linda was coming from, but after sending her my location, I waited for 6 hours before I saw her familiar car. When it stopped, I walked up to the driver's seat like always, only to find Tom there. Finally, we meet. Hello, I'm Tom. You probably know. My smile froze. Linda got into the passenger seat and turned to explain, Tom just got discharged and wanted to hang out for a bit, so I brought him along. Hearing this, Tom turned to me with a smile. I've troubled Linda a lot before, so today I'm playing chauffeur to make it up to her. You don't mind, right? I sat in the back, politely replying, no problem. We're all friends. I don't mind. I said those words, but didn't take my eyes off the steering wheel Tom was holding. Linda treasures her car. Doesn't like strangers driving it, let alone touching it. I was only allowed to be her chauffeur 2 years into the relationship, and then only when she needed me. I thought it was a sign of her trust, and secretly, it made me happy for a long time. Now I see, Tom isn't a stranger, and I'm not special to her. My response made Linda's expression change. Joshua, I knew why. We had argued about it many times before. I didn't understand why Linda was so attached to a seat, but she would scream at me hysterically. I'm your girlfriend, not your toy. Your controlling nature suffocates me. Do you want to push me away before you're satisfied? Do you have nothing else to do? Later, a friend of hers told me the car was Tom's gift to her. I suddenly felt at peace. Turns out love and indifference are that obvious. The whole ride, I stayed quiet in the back seat like an outsider. Tom, however, kept chatting nonstop. Linda kept glancing at me, and their laughter stung my eyes and left a sour taste in my heart. I never knew Linda could be so talkative in the car. In the past, it was always me trying to liven things up, only for Linda to snap. "Can you be quiet? You're so annoying." Eventually, I just closed my eyes and slept. They say ignorance is bliss. When I opened my eyes again, the car was parked in front of a restaurant. Tom was still smiling, confirming the saying, "Don't hit a man with a smiling face." "I'm leaving in a couple of days, so to show gratitude, I'd like to treat you both to a meal." Before I could refuse, my stomach growled loudly. I hadn't eaten for nearly 8 hours waiting for Linda. Now, a free meal was offered. I wasn't going to decline, but the meal wasn't enjoyable. Midway, Tom went to the restroom, and soon Linda's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, turned it off, flipped it over, and tried to chat with me. "Joshua, do you like the food? Let's head out again in a couple of days. I heard from a friend there's a great spot for couples to hang out." My phone may be silent, but I could see Linda's mind wander. Every time she spoke, she glanced at her phone. Just a minute passed before she stirred, suddenly standing up. "Joshua, I'm sorry. Sounds like Tom's in trouble. I have to go." "Don't worry. I'll be back soon." The worry in her eyes was unmistakable. "It's fine. Go ahead. I can manage on my own," I said calmly, without even looking at her. Not the first time I've been left alone. No reason to make a fuss every single time. Linda looked distressed, trying to say something, but held back. Maybe she expected me to plead, to beg. The one thing she didn't expect was indifference. But with Tom, she never took the time to understand.
"I'm sorry," she said,
leaving me with nothing but her retreating figure. I ate the rest of the meal alone. Before leaving, I sent her one last message. "Let's break up." When I got back from dinner, it was 1 a.m. The room was empty. I didn't leave the light on for her like I used to. I just went straight to bed. I hadn't heard from Linda. No text, no call. I reached out to a friend, asking her to help me find a new place. If we're done, living here isn't right. I also contacted someone I hadn't in a long time. "Boss, I want to continue learning from you." He replied almost instantly. "Kid, didn't let me down. My door's always open for you." Something touched me, and I almost cried. "Thank you, boss." I looked at the dusty box in my hands, opening it with trembling fingers. Inside was a complete set of tools. Gently, like it was a treasure, I placed it where it could be seen. Maybe after a long day, I was exhausted. I slept in until noon. The place was still empty, just me. I didn't care or bother to ask when Linda would be back. I tidied up and headed out. Back in familiar territory, I focused more than I had in a while. It was past lunchtime before I checked my phone. Surprisingly, there were a few missed calls from the same person. Out of courtesy, I called back. Linda picked up right away, sounding worried. "Joshua, are you not home? Where are you? Why didn't you answer my calls?" I stood there for a bit, stunned. The feeling was bittersweet and familiar. Before, I was the one who would act like this. I was working, didn't see the phone. I rubbed my tired eyes. Linda paused before speaking again. "Are you coming back today?" "I'm waiting at home." Her voice was casual, like she didn't notice the breakup text. Maybe she saw it, but didn't want to face it. I didn't plan to repeat it because you can't wake someone pretending to sleep. Time will change everything. Eventually, she'll accept it. I might be busy. I was more detached than usual. Even Linda, a bit slow, sensed something was off. "Joshua, are you upset? I didn't mean to leave you last night." Tom and his girlfriend were fighting. He was really upset. He has a history of depression, and I was worried. Her words were cautious, fearing a misunderstanding. I gave a faint smile. "I trust you. No need to explain. You're friends, after all." I didn't say unnecessary. I said no need. Because our end was near, and there's no point in arguing over trivial things. Linda didn't seem comforted. Instead, there was an emptiness. "If there's nothing else, I'll go." My stomach was growling. Calling had delayed my meal. She sensed I might hang up and quickly said, "Don't go yet. Joshua, didn't we plan a trip for our 5-year anniversary? I've booked a place. Can you take some time off? Let's relax for a bit. I stiffened visibly. Linda never remembered anniversaries, much less suggested celebrating. I usually begged her to join, and she'd grudgingly agree, complaining, "Can't you be less clingy? Celebrate alone if it's such a big deal." This time, we planned a trip, one of her rare agreements, until Tom showed up and easily changed everything. Before, I would have been thrilled Linda remembered and suggested it. But now the date's long gone. You can't fix something shattered, so why try? Without hesitation, I declined. Nah, it's just another day.
We don't really need to.
Plus, I'm heading to the mountains for archaeology soon. Linda's expression changed, realizing how familiar the phrase was. Surprised, she asked, "Why didn't you tell me you switched jobs?" She probably never imagined there'd be a day I'd refuse her, nor did she think I'd pick up archaeology again. Linda has severe allergic rhinitis, and dealing with dirt daily, no matter how clean I am, would make her uncomfortable when I got home. So, for her health, I gave up this job the second year I started pursuing her. I abandoned what I loved my whole life and became someone unrecognizable. Not responding for so long made Linda uneasy. "Joshua, come home tonight, okay? I want to have a proper talk." I intended to refuse, but then I thought, I already found a new place. Might as well move my stuff out. No sense leaving things to be eyesores. After all, it's good to know when you're not welcome. I'll go back after I'm done. But in reality, being busy with work was just an excuse. It's been so long since I did this job. A lot I need to relearn, and archaeology demands patience. I just didn't know how to face Linda. She's avoiding me, and aren't I doing the same? We've been together for 5 years, and how many 5-year intervals do we get in life to wait around? I stayed until midnight before heading home. Linda has always had an early sleep routine, so going back late could avoid facing her. Still, I underestimated Linda's persistence. As soon as I got downstairs, I saw her shivering in the wind in thin clothes. In the past, I would have taken off my coat and wrapped it around her. Nagging, "Why didn't you wear more? If you catch a cold, I'll be worried." But I forgot one thing. Linda would never wait for me. After a moment of freezing, I approached her and said hello. "How did you know I'd be here?" asked her friend. I chuckled bitterly. I remembered once when I fainted from an acute appendicitis attack, and a good Samaritan took me to the hospital. I needed a family member's signature for the surgery, called Linda repeatedly until she finally answered, only to say impatiently, "How should I know where the hospital you mentioned is? You're grown up. Can't you handle it yourself? Do you have to bother me to be satisfied?" Thinking back, she could find it. She just never cared. Linda stared at me with hurt in her eyes. "Joshua, are you avoiding me?" I looked away. Feeling guilty? No, I'm really swamped with work. As soon as I spoke, I noticed the light in Linda's eyes slowly dimming, "But your coworkers clocked off at 8. Caught in a lie, I awkwardly laughed. "Sorry, that's my bad. Let's go home, it's cold out." Linda stood there, looking stunned, entirely disbelieving. In these 5 years with her, I never lied, even promised never to deceive her. But now everything had changed. Linda suddenly hugged me tight. "Joshua, please don't do this, okay? Are you mad at me? I can explain everything between him and me." Before she finished, I gently ruffled her hair. "It's fine, no need to explain." I said, "I believe you. Friends helping each other is normal." I spoke calmly, without a hint of emotion. Linda's expression shifted several times, and I couldn't tell what she was thinking. I thought she should be happy, right? Isn't a trusting and generous boyfriend what she wanted? In the car, Linda held my hand tightly, afraid I'd run off again. I didn't resist, just let her hold on. I always believed that good relationships should have good endings. At home, I started packing and Linda trailed behind me step for step. "Joshua, are you going on a business trip?" I paused, sort of, but mainly I plan to move out. It's not suitable for me to stay here. I thought I made myself clear, but Linda went hysterical, throwing my clothes everywhere. "Joshua, I didn't agree to a breakup, and I won't agree." I said nothing, wiped the tears off her cheek, and sighed. So you read my messages after all. Linda's expression froze. Over the past 5 years, countless messages to Linda went unanswered. Once, she didn't come home for days, calls went to voicemail, messages unread, but I saw her through someone else's social media. Taking a chance, I called, and after ages, she picked up. I'm busy abroad. What do you want? I had been secretly following Tom's social profile. Their IP addresses matched then. Why didn't you reply to my messages? She sounded impatient. I'm tired. It's not important. No need. Yet, I clearly heard a man's voice beside her. When I asked when she'd come back, she accused me of being a stalker, always meddling. That day was our anniversary too. Any news about Tom, she never missed a beat. Come to think of it, every anniversary Linda was likely with someone else. She wasn't unaware of these things. I wasn't important to her. Hence, she never cared. That night, I didn't leave. Linda clung to me, sobbing, Joshua, I know you're mad, but don't worry. These things will pass. When you calm down, can we go back to living like we used to? We've made it through 5 years together, and you promised you wouldn't leave me. Living with a mask isn't scary. What's scary is when you start lying to yourself. Linda was crying and coughing. Her face flushed, clutching her chest in pain. I sighed helplessly and helped her up from the floor. It's late.
Get some rest.
I'm not leaving tonight. She thought I was conceding and relaxed a bit. You're going on a business trip tomorrow, I'll go with you. I was too drained from work to deal with all this. After she fell asleep, I also dozed off. When I woke up the next day, Linda had already made breakfast. It felt like we were married for ages. Everything was so organized. Seeing me wake up, she looked kindly at me and said, I wasn't sure what you like, so I made a bit of everything, come and try it. Course, you never loved me, so how would you know my favorites? I was planning to have a chat with her, but just as I sat down at the table, the doorbell rang. Tom stood at the door, pale, holding a gift box. I'm here to say goodbye. I'm leaving the country tomorrow. Hope I didn't disturb you. Linda looked a bit flustered, turned to me, but before she could say anything, I spoke. Come in and eat with us. We're all friends here. Nothing to disturb. There's too much food anyway. Linda felt uneasy hearing my words, but stayed silent. Who am I to stop him from coming in? I'm just here for decoration. Tom didn't hesitate and found a seat. Didn't think I'd have a proper breakfast before leaving. Linda, your breakfast preferences haven't changed over the years. I remember you loved meat buns. I wonder if your cooking skills have improved, Tom said, placing a bun in Linda's bowl. I just silently sipped my porridge, like the two in front of me were strangers. Enough. Can you stop with the chatter? Linda suddenly yelled, breaking the pretend peace. Tom and I looked at her, confused.
She usually talks to me like that.
I hadn't done anything annoying today. Next second, Linda opened the door wide, pointing at Tom. Don't you have other friends? Why are you interrupting my time with my boyfriend?
Get out now.
I never want to see you again. Tom looked disbelieving and after a long pause said, Linda, you'll regret this. He snorted and left. After Tom left, Linda cautiously apologized to me. Joshua, I don't know why he came, but don't worry. I won't contact him again. I sighed deeply. I didn't want to keep living in self-deception. Linda, you know I don't love you. Just that heart. She trembled, covering her ears. Enough. I don't want to hear it.
See, she knows.
But she refuses to admit it. 6 years ago, an archaeological team got trapped in a landslide inside a cave. When rescuers arrived, there were 2 dead and 1 injured, including the person I loved. Lily couldn't be saved by the time she reached the hospital. At the same hospital, a girl needed an urgent heart transplant. Like me, Lily was an orphan with no relatives. Out of self-interest, I signed the donation form with trembling hands. For a while after that, I was nearly insane. When I met Linda again, my heart ached. I pursued her, and here we are. In our 3rd year together, she found the donation form in my drawer. She knew I knew the donor but never asked. Joshua, I know I messed up. I've apologized. What more do you want? I know you're angry, but those words really hurt. Can we not do this? I've never begged anyone, but I'm begging you now." I stayed silent, not even comforting her. I waited for her to calm down before I continued. "6 years ago, during your heart surgery, the donor was someone I loved. Ever since then, I've been pursuing you, right?" The clock struck midnight, and Cinderella's dream should come to an end. She looked at me, hurt and disbelief in her beautiful eyes. "Linda, when I said we're breaking up, I meant it. Not loving you is true, too." Linda couldn't accept it, and eventually stormed out. But none of that matters anymore. There were barely any traces of me left in this house. I just packed a few essentials. The next day when I left, Linda still hadn't come back. I didn't wait for her, just blocked her on every contact and headed to the cemetery. Gazing at the girl with their radiant smile on the headstone, my eyes welled up. "Little liar, you promised this heart would only hold me in this life. Seems like I'm breaking my promise too. Can't stay with you forever. Guess we're even." Archaeology was Lily's passion. I asked her more than once why a girl would choose such a tough and tiring career. She just smiled. Defying norms is classy when you love it. Even cost her life later on. "Forgive me. I'm a coward, only dared to visit you now." I talked to Lily for a long time that day at the cemetery before finally heading out on my own path. Before boarding the plane, I borrowed a friend's phone to send Linda one last message. "I'm gone. You're finally free."
So am I.
No reply for a long time after I sent it. Instead, I got a notification on my phone from Tom on Twitter. A picture with the caption, "Thanks for seeing me off. A perfect ending to youth." I turned off my phone and walked towards the plane. I brushed past Linda in the process. She didn't recognize me, but it didn't matter anymore. We were done.